Welcome back to Flying Dutchman Cards. We have something a little different today, something a little special that we're going to do, a series on 1989 Topps and just kind of the history, just kind of my personal history of collecting cards. And just this is one of my favorite sets of all time, so I want to kind of do a deep dive on it. And to help me out, I have a special guest straight from Chicago, Illinois, Doug, my brother. Hello, Doug.
Hello, Flying Dutchman. I hear you A-okay.
Nice.
Thanks for having me on your web show.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for joining me. We are coast to coast, or almost coast to coast. I'm in Bellingham, Washington. Doug is in Chicago, so we are cross time zones.
Middle coast.
Nice. Middle coast. Very nice. Sweet. So I wanted, just kind of talk about 89 Topps, but more kind of generally just kind of our experiences with collecting. Since you are the older brother, you probably have slightly more recollection, but do you remember kind of when we started collecting back in the day?
I vaguely do. I kind of rely on you to be the gatekeeper of all knowledge and things of our childhood, but
Nice.
I mean, I remember there was a corner store, grocery store off of Lakeway. Do you remember the name of that one?
Like down by Grandma's house?
No, it was down
Nelson's Market
freeway, and then you go down Lakeway.
Yeah, Nelson's Market.
Nelson's Market, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time we got cards there. And I specifically remember getting these 1989 ones. And I feel like Topps in general was kind of our default because it was the cheapest.
Yes.
And so we could always get the mom or dad to get us the Topps pack as opposed to like the years going on. But I feel like Topps was also kind of the bologna sandwich of baseball cards. Like if a corner store was going to sell any type of cards, it was going to have Topps.
Yeah,
it might not have some fancy Upper Deck or Donruss or Don O'Russ or Fleer or any of those types of things. So I remember that. I remember then Bulldog
sports cards. Yes, or I think it was just Bulldog baseball cards. I didn't even think they sold any. I feel like it was all baseball all the time.
Yeah,
but,
are they still around? They probably went out of business a long time.
Yeah, they're totally gone. But yeah, that I remember that was like a treat, like Saturday morning or Saturday. It's like we're going to Bulldog and just looking at the case and looking at all the old school cards. So my favorite player growing up was Ozzie Smith, and I just remember like going in and like looking at like the Ozzie Smith rookie card and just being like, I want that so bad, you know. And
how much was it back then?
Oh, it was probably like $30 or something like that. You know, but I was 7, so it's like that was like, you know, in 1989, that was like, you know, $1 million that I'd have to say about. But
I think too, it seemed like at that point, 1989, Topps was probably also the most popular, I would say.
Yeah.
So it made it easy to trade. Like we had neighborhood kids that we could trade with. We had like our dad's co-workers that we could trade cards with.
Right.
And so it was kind of maybe bologna sandwich isn't the right word. It was like the US dollar, like it was good anywhere.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And so a couple other things about this set. We also, I believe we both had like a large folder of the card. Like you had the Will Clark one.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which one I had. Do you remember?
Like Barry Larkin or something?
Maybe. That sounds familiar. Yeah. And so it was awesome because it was a full size, you know, folder with the pockets, but it was like exact replica of the card. So even on the back, it had the same like stats and design and everything. So it wasn't just like a cheap knockoff. It was just like it looked like a giant card.
Yeah.
So I always remember that from this set. Another thing, tell all your fans about your graduation announcement.
Oh yes. So this was awesome. So when I graduated from college, I had yeah. So we wanted to make a graduation announcement. So we made it in the style of 1989 Tops, and so uh, yeah. So basically, we went out and did a photo shoot of me, like just like with a baseball bat, and like did some cool shots, and then did the stats. I actually played basketball in college, and so we put all my basketball stats on the back, and then kind of had that as that was the announcement that we sent out, was like my own 89 Tops baseball card, and it was like the coolest thing ever. It was like it was like one of the most fun projects I feel like to work on, because we're like, oh wait, we could do this, and like, and just made it look exactly like it and send it out to everyone, and everyone's like, I don't understand, what are you guys doing? But
It was cool
yeah,
to us.
yeah, it was totally. It's just like, I don't really care what anyone else thinks. It's like, I think it's awesome. So
I
I love
remember
to
the
do that.
photography wasn't great because we were amateur photographers, but the
Right.
design was, we spent a lot of time making sure the design was
Yeah, yeah.
on point, like looking exactly like it.
Yeah, like with the letters, getting all the letters to fit right, just right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
our last name
Oh,
is
it said Spartans, right?
oh, it said Spartans. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the back. So cool. I want to. There's one thing I was thinking about with just the design of the packs and the box. So when the memory that I have is specifically of the box of cards of at where we grew up. There was a store, so we grew up at a camp, and there was a store there. And I remember just sitting, and this is when baseball cards were huge, and so they sold them there as well. I think later in the summer, we probably convinced someone like, hey, you should sell baseball cards. But I just remember like looking at the box, and it was always that thing of like, which pack are you going to pick? You know what I mean? Like there's a fresh box, and it's like, I'm going to pick the third one on the left side, and like that's going to be the one that has all the awesome cards in it. And they were all just like completely random. It's like it had made
Yeah.
no difference. But then too is like on the bottom of the boxes, they had cards as well. So once you got to the bottom, you could see like the designs of the other cards, like the bottom of the box cards, that I always thought was cool. But
Nice.
I just distinctly remember like seeing this, seeing the box and just having that like I'm gonna get some baseball cards and this is gonna be awesome. So
Nothing like, it's also a nice look, like a full box of cards, because it's just like potential. Like
right,
there could be gold in here box.
yeah,
Just like full of cards. So it's a nice look.
yeah.
So looking at this box now, we have Jose Canseco,
Yes,
which, while popular at the time, 2020,
yeah. Not doing so hot.
not like who you probably would want to brand your box. Like
Well,
Topps isn't like putting out a retro set featuring Jose Canseco.
right, yeah. Well, as you can notice behind me, I have this was the first thing that I bought when I moved into my office out here, was from eBay, a pennant from 1989 of Jose Canseco that I had as a child, and somewhere in a garage sale, I was like, I'm never going to need this again, and I got rid of it. And I realized when I found it on eBay that that's really what eBay is for, is just to buy all the things from your childhood that you can't afford anymore, that you threw away. And so this was his 40-40 pennant that I had. And now I've started collecting all the other ones, and it's kind of ridiculous. I actually have another Jose Canseco one there too. So
he had 40, 40, and 88 then.
yes, yeah, in '88. So this is the '89 pennant, but I feel like he was just like so cool back then. Like he was just like a cartoon character playing baseball, and like just watching him hit, like just even seeing like clips of him now, it's like watching him hit, it's just like he just like wiggled the bat and just like destroyed it every single time. I don't know. That was my recollection.
I think that was that was definitely the time that we were both at an age where I think we started playing baseball. We started collecting baseball cards, and then we started like watching baseball on TV. So that was like the World Series, like the Battle of the Bay.
Yeah.
Like they went back to back, right?
Well, no, they're in the World Series 88, 89, and 90, but they
Okay.
only won in
Yeah, I mean,
89. But they were in the middle of a run of three World Series appearances in 3 years. So yeah,
yeah. So definitely a superstar of that time.
yeah.
And you skipped over something that we need to shelve for a future video is all the things that you got rid of.
Oh yeah. True.
We could just have a slideshow of all these things. Like,
I took pictures of them all before I got rid of them. I don't know why.
all right.
It's like a moment of weakness, but yes.
So going back to the box.
Yeah.
We're also featuring Greg Jeffries.
Yes.
As a future star.
Yes.
And not to dump on Topps, because I feel like a lot of sets had Greg Jeffries as a future star.
Yeah.
And as you as a stat head, how did Greg Jeffries' career? Was he ever a future star? Was he ever a star?
He was. He had 1 year. He actually went to the Cardinals after the Mets. He had 1 year. He hit like 330, and like made the All-Star team, and he played first base. Like he came up as like a second baseman, third baseman, more second baseman, I guess. But he ended up playing like first base for the Cardinals, and he actually like killed it this 1 year. I want to say it was like 93 or something like that. So it was definitely after when he should have like busted out. But that was like his one good year. And then he kind of floated around. I think he went to the Phillies for a couple years. So he was serviceable, but he definitely like that was one of the cards that like, just because it said future star on it was awesome. But just like, and he played for the Mets. He had 2 G's in his name. Like it was, 2 G's and 2 F's. It's like, what is all this craziness going on? But I remember, like he was like the hottest thing around, like in '89.
He is wearing a nice Mets jersey. It's like, it's got the racing stripes. It's got New York in a script.
Yeah,
that's one of the things too, that while we're talking about these sets, I have somewhat of a design background, and so I want to talk about like the design of this set and those types of things, as well as our memories. One thing I noticed, I mean, before we get into all the sets,
it
seems like a lot of the photos, they're wearing jerseys that aren't their regular jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Were they spring training jerseys? Because I don't remember back then them having like nowadays you have the alternate jersey or the third jersey.
The softball top.
Yeah, you didn't see those during the season. So what Greg Jeffries is wearing, is that a spring training jersey, you would say?
Yeah, that's like, as the proliferation of the softball tops, as Paul Lucas from Union Watch would call them, is I'm always like, when they wear them, like I would just think like, those are spring training jerseys. Like, why are you wearing those? Look like, kind of dumpy, spring training uniforms. But like the last couple World Series, like that's all they've been wearing. Like the Cubs and Indians, like that's all they wore. Like they both wore their softball tops every time. And so the ones, the picture from there, and even the one with Canseco, like he's just wearing like a warm up. It's like a ton of these pictures were just taken during spring training, and that's what they used.
Yeah.
The crazy part though is to think about it too, is that like a lot of times these sets though came out. This is '89 Topps, but a lot of times they would come out like just in time for Christmas of '88. So basically, like these cards would be released like December of '88. So these pictures are actually from like spring training of '88, or something like. So it's that weird part of like which I didn't really realize until I got older, of like, wait, when did they actually take this picture? Because it's like they want to know how to, even if it comes out in January, it's like, well, none of the, if it comes out before the season, the pictures have to be from the season before. And so, and that's why, they'd have the Topps traded sets like later on, because like everyone would get traded and they wouldn't, they'd be in their old uniforms. So, but so basically those are all like warm-ups, or their spring training uniforms. So
it'd be interesting to talk to someone that worked on these sets and hear kind of the history of how they went about production, and because as we look at the how we broke down the set and all the different photos and where they were taken and stuff, you start to see a lot of patterns of like, oh, there was a lot taken at Wrigley. There's a lot taken at Spring
Tiger Stadium. Yeah.
you could look at a whole team and say like, well, 80% of these photos were taken on one day, you know, and there's
Right.
just like candid, or like
Yeah, it's like
post,
we'll
post,
just
post.
line them up and take them all at the same time. Yeah.
Which is funny now, contrasting that with like Topps has the cards you can buy the day later of like a Bartolo Colon hitting a home run. You can buy
Right.
that card that
The
day,
next.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting. And obviously, this is all printed analog. A lot
Right.
more work has to go into it. Digital makes things faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, so the last thing I want to talk about is, I mean, just with the pack specifically, we never really did those like the spring training thing because I was 7 years old and didn't know how to like write a letter. But the thing that we haven't talked about is the one thing that was in this pack that was not a baseball card, which was the one stick of bubble gum. Do you remember any memories about the bubble gum?
I remember we started off eating the bubble gum. Like
Yeah,
it was a thing that you definitely you'd be like, yeah, here's some more bubble gum. And then I feel like it quickly like went off a cliff. Like
this is
this stuff
terrible.
is gross.
Yeah,
I think too, if we started collecting it, I don't know, we don't know dates of like, did we start collecting in December '88 and then like
right.
the gum
Yeah,
is fresh, and then by like that summer
right. It's just like it's been sitting there for
you're
9 months.
having like it's like they could be used for digging out the those little packets of cheese and crackers, and you
Yeah,
have the
right.
red stick.
Yeah. You can taste like
Substitute a Topps bubble gum for those things.
yeah.
Hey, were you telling me something about how because of like laws and stuff, they weren't selling cards; they were selling the gum?
Yeah, so that's the funny part. Like Topps is actually like they started off as a gum manufacturer. Like that was the whole point. And really too it goes back to like original baseball cards when they started were to as like an incentive to buy it with cigarettes. So it was like the Honus Wagner, super famous Honus Wagner card is it was a card that they put in a pack of cigarettes. And the weird part too about that is that they put them in the pack of cigarettes to give it more rigidity. So like they didn't have like cardboard, so they're like, oh, we can just have this one piece of cardboard and that'll make it more rigid. And so then so that's kind of like made tobacco cards like a big deal. And so kids would tell their dad to buy a certain type of cigarette so that they could get this the baseball card out of it. And so then that same kind of thing went in with Topps is that they wanted to sell bubble gum. So really the gum was supposed to be the star of the show. Then like, oh, to get to sell the gum, we'll give you these cards. And so like Fleer was the same way. So they started off, they were confectioner that sold gum, and so they wanted to be able to sell it. But basically, Topps had the exclusive rights to sell baseball cards with gum. And so no one could there's other reasons why other competitors couldn't kind of join the compete with Topps, but one of them was that they didn't have anything to like put in their things. Like, well, we make gum, like we sell our gum. And so like one year they used like cookies, like a really low sugar cookie, because it couldn't have a certain sugar content. And so they put this like really like crummy cookie in a thing and try to sell it.
Union wafer.
Right. Yeah. And so the first year in 1981 was the first year where Topps, really from the mid 50s through through 1980, they didn't have any competition. But in 81, that's when Donruss and Fleer started. And Donruss actually had gum in their first pack, and they lost a lawsuit. Topps sued them basically, so you can't do this because we have exclusive rights. And so that's why they started putting the puzzle pieces in their packs of cards, because that was the thing. So you couldn't just sell baseball cards; it had to be part of something else. Like you had to be like selling the puzzle, and then it came with baseball cards, which is super backwards and weird. And then Fleer did stickers, so that's why when you go through sets of Fleer, that was their thing that they were selling was stickers, and it came with free baseball cards. So it's a really weird, like it's one of those things like when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, cool, has gum in it. Like that's weird, but like, you know, like probably people, you know, grew up in the 50s and be like, oh yeah, like Topps, like they, you know, made awesome, you know, gum. And part of it too, I want to say it's Fleer had, and I'll probably mess this up and not remember it right, but they came up with like double bubble, like that was their, like that Fleer makes double. So it's like, so when you think about that, you're like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. So it's like that's why Fleer even was in baseball cards to begin with, is because they wanted to sell double bubble, but they couldn't. So then they put stickers, you know. So it's like, so yeah, it's funny if you just look up kind of what, you know, basically these are candy companies that are also selling baseball cards, and how it eventually switched to just selling baseball cards. So
I think it also interesting is that you're getting 15 bubble gum cards.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, 15 cards though is a lot of cards. Like, how many do cards like packs have now? Like 8 or 10? Or?
Well, it just depends. Like there's I mean, they cost a lot more. You know, I mean, these you know were 15 cards for 45 cents. And actually, in the years previous, like in '87, there was like 17 cards. So that it actually had been going down for a while, and it kind of like peaked where it went down to like 4 or 5 cards, you know, for like $1 or something like that. And then it kind of went the other way where they're like, well, let's just charge $5 and we'll put, you know, 14 cards in. I think, yeah, like 2020 Topps has, I want to say like a retail pack is 14 cards for $2.99. So yeah, so it's, they basically just made the price higher and then put more cards in it. But yeah, but yeah, there's definitely a time where it went, the number of cards kept decreasing and then the price would increase. So the price per card, you know, over the years kind of got out of whack. But yeah, and now, I mean, you can buy ones that, you know, they're you know, they just came out with like Topps Transcendent, which is, you know, $20,000 for a briefcase, and there's quite a few cards in there, but it's like you're spending $20,000 on baseball cards. So the hobby has changed dramatically. So
yeah, I say we transition, rip open this pack, and start looking at the design.
Nice.
I like cards.